Number one, I love that breaking news segment. Number two, Piers Morgan. Do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn Hamas? Hummus? Hummus? Do you condemn Hamas? Hummus? Well, he decided to say something. He decided to share his opinion. He decided to let everybody know where he stands on an issue. Now, he's done this before, but folks, the scenes from Rafah overnight are horrific. I defended Israel's right to defend itself after October 7th, but the slaughtering so many innocent people as they cower in a refugee camp is indefensible. Stop this now, Netanyahu. Piers Morgan. What's going on, buddy? Well, hold on. There's been a couple of people commenting on this. Not really. They're just out to save their own skin so they can say later about how they weren't for genocide, but was waiting for the right legal stipulation. Because shout out to, again, Dr. Anesthesia, who said even the most brainwashed are waking up. No, Piers Morgan isn't waking up. He's not waking up at all. And I also want to pull up some of the comments, too, in his main tweet. This is all happening because you pushed atrocity propaganda and said Israel has a right to defend itself when international law says it does not. This is a genocide, Piers. To which, again, hey, of all people, Andrew Tate saying, I told you. When you got to agree with Andrew Tate, you know things are getting bad here, folks. The ship is sinking. And then, of course, you got Samir Khan, who writes, he goes through this process every single time Israel launches a military operation to destroy Hamas. He cheers it on in the beginning and then regrets later on. Take case in point right here. Let's go and pull up this one. The ongoing oppression of Palestinians in Gaza is appalling. The relentless rocket attacks by Hamas on Israel is also appalling. And this is from 2014. Palestinians need to be freed from oppression. Israelis need to be freed from the fear of Hamas rockets. Again, 2014. Israel's making a massive mistake with this monstrous child-slaughtering military strategy. Someone needs to rein in Netanyahu fast. 2014. Israel has an absolute right to defend itself. It doesn't have the right to target UN schools. That's a crime. 2014. To which, again, this was covered. Piers Morgan joined ceasefire calls, urging Israel's Netanyahu to stop this now. Hey, folks, let's have democracy in the chat. You think Piers Morgan's words to Netanyahu is going to have any kind of weight? Type 1 for yes, Kit. More people are speaking out, and this time Netanyahu's going to listen. Type 2, man, he ain't going to listen. And Piers Morgan's only doing this to cover his wazoo. Because what happened in Rafah, it's getting out of hand. So television host Piers Morgan backed a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war Monday morning, saying in a string of social media posts that the recent strike in the Rafah safe zone that killed more than 40 people was too far. Too far! It's only too far now. What about the World Central Kitchen workers? What about the 140 plus journalists that got popped? Hey, wait a minute. Here's a big number. What about the 35,000 plus and ongoing dead men, women, and children? But this has gone too far now. It's the bridge too far. He goes on the right. The scenes from Rafah overnight are horrific. Morgan wrote on the social media platform X, I defended Israel's right to defend itself after October 7th, but slaughtering so many innocent people as they cower in a refugee camp is indefensible. He added a message for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, stop this now. So as we all know that there was a recent strike in Rafah, I want to pull up this article from RT just to trigger the libs. Israel claims deadly strike on Rafah was justified. Israel has insisted the attack by its air force in the Gazan city of Rafah, which reportedly caused mass civilian casualties, was a precise strike targeting 2 senior Hamas leaders. Hey, Biden, you going to say something? Hey, see, you going to say something? Bernie Sanders, you going to say something? No, probably not. The IDF hit Rafah's Tal al-Sultan neighborhood, killing at least 35 people. That number is going to probably be a lot higher, and injuring dozens, mostly women and children, according to the health ministry of the Hamas-controlled Palestinian enclave. Footage from the area, supposedly a designated safe zone for displaced civilians, showed widespread devastation. A blaze that ripped through a tent camp. A spokesperson with the Palestinian Red Crescent Society warned there was many people trapped in the burning debris. The death toll may rise. Well, that's what's going to happen, unfortunately, and I'm very sorry for everything that's happening, as first aid workers were doing everything they can to rescue civilians who were trapped. Here's a statement from the IDF. The strike was carried out against legitimate targets under international law through the use of precise munitions on the basis of precise intelligence. The IDF is aware of reports indicating that the result of the strike and fire that ignited several civilians in the area were harmed. The incident is under review, according to the IDF. So the IDF is reviewing it. Last week, the United Nations top judicial body, the International Court of Justice, ordered Israel to immediately halt its operation in Rafah. The court said it was not convinced that the evacuation efforts and the related measures that Israel affirms to have undertaken were sufficient to alleviate the risk to civilians. So good old Piers Morgan is now asking, hey, Netanyahu, stop what you're doing. Now, the attack comes days after, again, as I've said before, the United Nations International Court ordered Israel to stop its operations in Rafah. Morgan also endorsed French President Emmanuel Macron's statement Monday denouncing the attack and calling for a ceasefire. You had the same President Macron who's saying, hey, send troops, send those troops to Ukraine. We need to put NATO in Ukraine, like right now. What could possibly go wrong? Outraged by the Israeli strikes that have killed many displaced civilian persons in Rafah, these operations must stop, Macron wrote on X. There are no safe places in Rafah for Palestinian civilians. I call for full respect for international law and immediate ceasefire. Morgan's statement was met with pushback, with one Israeli foreign ministry official calling out the British news host for mischaracterizing what he said were precision strikes in Rafah. Well, it wasn't very precise, was it? Morgan retorted. He also shot back against another Tractor media host, Shmuley Botek, who said he was only showing sanctimonious and self-righteousness. When the IRA were murdering people in England, we didn't drop 2,000-pound bombs on Belfast because the terrorists were living among civilians, Morgan said. More than half of Gaza's population of 2.3 million people are believed to be sheltering in Rafah, and more than 80% of the territory's population overall are displaced from their homes. The UN said famine has begun in parts of the region as civilians struggle to get access to humanitarian aid. More than 120 aid trucks entered the city Sunday from Egypt, the first since the Israeli military seized the crossing earlier this month. It was not immediately clear if local aid groups could access the humanitarian supplies. However, the Associated Press reported as fighting in the area has made humanitarian work difficult. So Piers Morgan saying, hey, stop what you're doing. Stop what you're doing, Netanyahu. Please stop what you're doing. I'm waiting for his next show to where he then flip-flops again. Because I want to have democracy in the chat. Do you think he's going to be consistent? Type 3 for yes, Kit. Piers Morgan is going to be consistent. Because these strikes are going too far. Type 4. No, he's going to go right back to usual. He's going to go right back to usual and asking his guests, do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn Hamas? I want to pull up this video here from Bassem Youssef just real quick. Just real quick, I want to pull this video up. Just going to play a few short minutes of it. But this is, he went on to say, I'm posting this video again. All the lies Israel spread. The world believes the lies about decapitated babies, but turning a blind eye away from the actual footage of what's happening in Rafah. Here we go. Let's play this video.
Now let's talk about October 7th. October 7th is a atrocity. It's a terrorist attack. It's terrible. Anthony Blinken went in front of Congress and he testified about an incident.
A family of four, a young boy and girl, 6 and 8 years old, and their parents around the breakfast table. The father, his eye gouged out in front of his kids. The mother's breast cut off. The girl's foot amputated. The boy's fingers cut off before they were executed. And then their executioners sat down and had a meal.
That is a direct testimony from Zaka and Hadzullah United.
They killed the husband first. They took his eyes out. I saw the body by myself. They cut the breast of the woman. They cut the leg of girl.
Two relief groups from Israel that they have actually been exposed that all of the stuff that they said has been lies. And they've collected more than $50 million of donations.
Our volunteers, when they came into the homes and they saw the children beheaded, if they were not busy raping women, they would have continued to Jerusalem.
Because of these unverified lies, and this has been reported by the Israeli media, Haaretz, Channel 13, and Time of Israel.
ושם תופסות אותי עוד 2 תמונות, באמת, חוץ מתום אין שם שום דבר אחר, שנשחטו ופשוט הרגו אותם.
אתה רואה את הילדים?
בית, 8 תינוקות.
8 תינוקות
מתים.
נרצחו 8 תינוקות במעון בבארי מבהיר. ילדים, תינוקות שנתלו על חבל כביסה ממש בשורה אחת. אנחנו בכפר עזה, אבל לכפר עזה הבהירו מזמן שהאירוע הזה פשוט לא קרה.
Pregnant women, cut open.
גם זה לא קרה. היות שגם בייחוד הצלה הפיצו בזמנו את הסיפור הפיקטיבי על כך שתינוק הושם בתוך תנור.
You've seen burn body. But in the same time in Israel, people talk about the Hannibal Directive, where the Israel went in and indiscriminately they shot Hellfire missiles from Apache. They shot shells from tanks. There is an Israeli survivor. Her name is Yasmin Porat. She came on a podcast and she talked about being in a house with 14 other hostages and 40 terrorists and said everybody was alive. And then the Israelis started to shooting all the 40 terrorists and 12 out of the 14 hostages were killed. That's an 85% kill rate.
הטרוריסטים ירו בהם?
לא.
כל זה כוחותינו ירו בהם?
חד משמעית. לא את כולם, כולל הבני ערובה.
Now, let's talk about the decapitated babies. According to the official Israeli records, 1 baby was killed, Mila Cohen, 10 months, 12 children from the age to 2 to 9, 36 from the age from 12 to 19, a total of 49 innocent children who should never have been killed or even touched on that day. The biggest casualty was 421 people from the age of 20 or 40. The total number of people that killed with that day, 1,129 people. 373 of them were police and military, and 759 civilians. No rape, no decapitation, nothing. All of these were refuted. Even the New York Times piece and the Guardian retracted them because they were taken for a ride. Does it make it less horrific that there are just 759 just killed, most of them killed by firepower from the Israeli? No, it's still horrific. But you created that image so people now are prepared and prepped to go in and kill everyone. This is blind rage. The 40 decapitated baby became a myth and everybody now believes. So if I talk about them, nobody wants to.
I don't think everybody believes it.
But
Oh, Fredo, you're out of your element. So what can we take away from this? Piers Morgan and so many others now are just shocked about what Israel is going to do in Rafah. This will not stop the military operations. Unfortunately, madness and insanity will still run amok. And unfortunately, people are still going to witness many more horrific crimes taking place. It doesn't have to be this way, but everybody sees that the PR image that Israel once had, once maintained, is now forever lost. There's no way they're ever going to be regaining that image ever again. I mean, it is done. It is over. It is no longer going to be a thing. It is forever lost. But Piers Morgan, okay, great. You did a little tweet on Easy Street. Are you going to do anything more besides that? Are you going to maybe apologize for maybe, I don't know, going to bat for Israel a little bit too much? I mean, I'm all for free speech. Everyone's entitled to it. But the crisis that's happening in Gaza, the people that are lost, and right now the death toll we all know is much, much, much higher. The people of Rafah have nowhere to go. There's nowhere for them to escape to. It's time for a ceasefire, and it's time for justice to take place. But see, the problem with that is that that's too idealistic. Netanyahu and his government has made it abundantly clear what they're going to do. And they're going to keep on doing their military operations in Rafah. And if they're not going to listen to the United States, if they're not going to listen to the UN, if they're not going to listen to the European Union, if they're not going to listen to the ICC, if they're not going to listen to the ICJ, they're not going to listen to anybody in any media outlet space either. And this shouldn't be the case.